we'll be uploading the PowerPoint presentation later on a one Google Drive. So you can access and download the PowerPoint presentation. So you can use also for your inset in your sa inyong corresponding school right now. Yes, I agree. Pinaka-appropriate with ang model na answer. O, parihara na siya sa Bisaya pa usay kay nagigugol sa paggamit ang og nga letter O o og nga letter U kung paano siya sa gamiton. So I hope and I know na you learn a lot of things from the first batch of speakers a while ago. Especially sa katong topic ni Ma'am Naomi katong about sa bata language acquisition. Tinuod dito siya na ang bata is maka-acquire sila of language, especially kung ang first language yung gitudlo is ang palibot kog nga tao nga naadin natin. So, Korea to sa iya o ginana as English for example. Alright. So, I will be mag-stop na kong share because I guess the speakers are now ready to present their topic this afternoon. So, the four speakers are now ready. So, let's start our afternoon session. Hello? Alright. So, okay, so, alright, so, our technical team posted in our hotspot that, hi teachers, good afternoon, the Google Drive link where we can access our speakers' PowerPoint presentations will be shared later as soon as all the topics are presented. Yes, later, we will post the link here in our hotspot. Hello, dear speakers, are you now ready? Yes, ma'am. Okay, they are now ready. Alright, so to move on to our fourth topic this afternoon, let me introduce to you our fourth speaker, since there are two. The first speaker is Mama Ann Akpo, the teacher two of Alabid National Comprehensive High School, together with her partner, Miss Marvic V. Ladera, also a teacher two of Alabid National Comprehensive High School. So let's give her a virtual clap so we can start our afternoon session. Alright, now take it away, dear speakers. Yes, ma'am, nakita naman. Nakita rin siya. Superintendent, Dr. Jonathan F. De La Peña, our Assistant Chief Division Superintendent, Dr. Nico Lago, our CLD Chief, Doc Dael, Division Supervisor, Ma'am Gladys Bana. To all the participants, institute good afternoon. Technical problems may cause us to be distracted or disconnected. Time may also not be followed as planned. But what is important is that we are learning and we can continue enhancing ourselves to be effective teachers to our learners. So please bear with us. Rest assured, you will be filled with relevant knowledge power. Correcting grammar errors and feedback teams. How are we going to correct grammar errors? When? What are we going to consider? This topic was given by Christopher Ott as a resource teacher rather, an English instructor at Peking Union Medical College, where he teaches academic writing to PhD candidates and teaches second language acquisition at Beijing Normal University. He has done extensive teacher training throughout China in as an English language fellow. He also trained in becoming Fulbright teaching assistant as an English language specialist in Mongolia. He continues to support Garello in Beijing with teacher training programs. He received his MA in teaching English to teachers of other languages, and he is also MSc in library and information science. For our objective, in this webinar, we will discuss how to evaluate the suitability of error correction techniques for different teaching contexts, like when are we going to correct, what are we going to consider in correcting errors. Explore some of the reasons that students make errors. So what are those reasons? Examine how to use a range of error correction techniques appropriately, and of course, just relax and have fun. We have the agenda to review previous webinars that cover capability of error correction, types of error correction, research on feedback techniques, and feedback activities. Let's have a quick review. Name one thing that you learned from the previous research. May I request the participants to please type a keyword in the chat box. So please write your answers in the chat box below. Hmm? Okay, position 5A, 8.2. Um, a scenario is given. How are you going to respond to this? When students make errors, do you always correct them? Yes or no? Please write in the chat box. Yes, no, Ma'am Dorcas, no, also Ma'am Geraldine, not at all times. Okay, thank you for your answers. How about this question? What are your students' most common reactions to your corrective feedback? Do they not notice your attempt to correct? They become embarrassed, or they are grateful and encouraged? Please write your answers also. Okay, let me see. What are your answers? They become silent. A and B. Sometimes they are embarrassed. Yes, sometimes they feel the time. So others also B and C. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your answer. You have a student who is at the intermediate level. He has no knowledge of grammar terms or the verb, adjective, and others. He is engaged in a controlled communicative grammar activity that is focused on observing correct subject-verb agreement. You overhear her say, "My mother goes shopping 2 times a week. They always bring me something home." Which error would you correct? Are you going to correct both or not? Please write down again your answers, your exact words you would say to the student when you correct them. So I request again the participants to please write down your answers. What are your words? What are you going to say? How are you going to correct? Exact words. Okay. So again, this is the situation.
Hello? Hel-
You have
Sir,
a student who is at
sir,
the intermediate level.
kani ang
He
asa ka
has
karon?
no knowledge of the grammar terms, the verb,
Ha?
adjective, and others. He is
Nag-iasa
engaged
ka
in a
karon?
controlled communicative grammar activity that is
Pwede hatag
focused on
sa opisina,
observing
sir, be?
correct subject-verb
Kay na ako,
agreement.
kay na ako,
You
gianti
overhear
niya?
her say, "My
Kay na
mother
ako
goes shopping
ipaanha
two
man gud
times a
diha
week.
karon na siya sa
They
balingasag.
always bring
Kay
me something home."
nagseminar ko
So
karon.
which error would
Murag
you
nasa sa
correct?
shop.
Are you going to
Pwede
correct
pwede
both?
akong ihatag sa
Hindi
imong
naman
number?
mag-ano sa'yo. So please write down the exact words and then
Ha.
say to
Salamat
the
kay sir ha.
student
Akong
when
ihatag
you are
karon
going
ha.
to correct them.
Salamat.
Let me call. Okay, both. Both daw ang and is correct. So thank you so much, ma'am. I will tell her, please, Langga, can you repeat what you just said? Okay, Ma'am Stephanie, both also. She's going to correct both. Okay. Please say, "My mother goes shopping." Wow, thank you so much, Ma'am Abasta. Then Ma'am Namo also says both. I think you are referring to your mother, so I guess you are referring to your mother, so I guess it's best to say she. Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am Aliyah. Right, thank you for your answer. Should we always correct errors? Okay, this time I'm asking again. Should we always correct errors? So what do you think? Are we going to correct errors always? Please write down again your answer. It is yes or no. Then later we will reveal kung saan kita impacto. No, yes, yes, yes. Whenever the need arises. So wow, thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, the answer is no. It depends on the lesson of the day. So always remember that in correcting errors, we also need to consider the approach that we're teaching. The meaning focus instruction, form focus, and integrated approach to language instruction. So meaning focus instruction characterize the communicative language teaching and involves no direct explicit attention to language form which focuses on fluency. So it doesn't matter if it has error on the grammar as long as nasabtan siya sa student. Then we have form focused instruction also. Generally, speech language is an object to be studied through lessons targeting specific grammatical structures and rules. So it really focuses on accuracy and like meaning focused instruction. This emphasizes the grammar rules and structures. Then we have the integrated approach to language instruction. This incorporates attention to language structures within a meaning-focused activity or task. So it is a combination of meaning-focused instruction and the form-focused. They focus both fluency and accuracy. Masagta na siya, grammatically correct pa. The suitability of error correction. What when are we going to correct? Is it okay if you are going to correct grammar errors or not? Then, unsaon na to siya. So, to correct errors or not to correct. So, before we correct errors, we should always consider things in correcting. So, consequences of under or over correction. So, in fact, what would be the consequences if we under correct the errors or we also over correction. We also need to consider the culture and student perception. Why students make errors? So what are the reasons? Ano magiging mga students make errors kung sa gitna always? Then when to correct errors? So sao sa ano sa pwede to correct. Then we have under or over correction consequences. So in under correction, it can lead to lack of accuracy. Kaya kulang man siya. Then hinder language development sequence, then facilitation of errors. With overcorrection also, it can lead to hindrance of fluency, then avoidance also. So i-avoid na because naglikay na kami naman sila. So it can also raise the affective filter. For that, we also need to consider the culture and student perceptions in correcting errors. Student and teacher perceptions of error correction do not always match. Always remember that teachers need to explore learners' beliefs to meet them. And as teachers, we should always ascertain our students' attitude towards feedback and explain the value of feedback. Negotiate agreed goals for feedback with them. So these goals are likely to vary according to the social and situational context. So it can be done also in our first language. So pwede na natin i-explain sa iyaha ka, sa ilaa, in Binisaya na. Kaya mo ginatunaan na language. So why students make errors? It can be developmental sequence in English as an language or second language is similar regardless of the first language. So this will be common. This is one of the reasons why students make errors. To transfer also from first language. Not all errors arise from linguistic culture. We should also remember this one. Experimenting with language over generalization shows that the learner is trying to apply rules. Then, the pinaka-problema, students don't study. That's why they always have errors, kaya dili man sila, errors, kaya dili man sila da tuon. Then, when to correct errors. So this time, does the error affect communication? So if you think the error affects communication, so ino siyang pwede ninyo sabihin correct as long as depende siya. So it depends on the katong lesson. So kung focus sa atong sa first na meaning focus instructions. So this is it. Then are we concentrating on accuracy? So depende with tanong, that's the time to correct errors. Then what is the grammar? Focus as objective of the activity or the lesson. And then is this an error that many students are making? So these are the things that we need to consider of correcting errors. All right, so question again. Here is another scenario. Your students are engaged in a free communicative activity focused on fluency. But a few students are making the same subject-verb agreement error. What questions might you ask yourself to determine whether to give corrective feedback? So please write down your answers on what would be the possible questions you might ask sa inyong self. Okay, may I request again the participants? What would be the possible questions? Hala? So again, what would be your questions you might ask to determine whether to give corrective feedback? Am I on the right track in teaching grammar? Thank you, ma'am. Who else? Okay. So thank you, ma'am Clemente. So this would be the question. Okay, what questions might you ask? So these are the questions you might ask. Am I over or under correcting? What are the students' perceptions of error correction? Why are they making the error? So, balik yung tanong. Is it interfering with comprehension? Then what type of activity is it? Is it an error many students are making? So these are the questions that you might ask yourself to determine whether to give corrective feedback. So before ka mag-correct, we need to ask also ourselves. To discuss, to discuss on the error correction technique, I will now turn you over to Ma'am Maan Akog, teacher to sa Alibid National Comprehensive High School. Maan. Okay, thank you, Ma'am Pai. I will now share my screen. Okay, is my slide already visible? Yes, ma'am. Okay. So, Ma'am Papay already discussed with you the circumstances when are we going to decide to correct errors. So it's very important for us teachers to consider those factors so that our correction will not be affecting our students' learning. Rather, it will become more helpful if we consider those factors. So always remember that, very important, you ask yourself first whether it is the right time to correct or not. Now, when I was reading your answers on what I asked a while ago, many of you already know some correction techniques, and I think these techniques are already familiar with you, and you can already use this more often. So actually, when we talk about giving correction, giving feedback, there are two ways. It could be explicit or implicit. The corrective feedback differs in terms of how implicit or explicit it is. So when we say implicit, course, there is no overt indicator that an error has been committed. You just simply try to help the students realize that there's an error somewhere. Whereas in explicit feedback, it's already very obvious. So this is something that we usually do. We explicitly correct. But now we will learn that there are other ways and there could be implicit ways of correcting errors. So here are the six error correction techniques. So we have the first five are actually implicit. These are ways of correcting in a way that you will not be directly telling the students that there's an error and this is how it should be corrected. It's a creative way of allowing the students to discover for themselves where is the error and how can I adjust and repair? How can I make this correct? So we have recast, clarification request, meta-linguistic feedback, elicitation, repetition, and of course, explicit correction. So let's try to review each one. When we say recast, okay, so this involves the teacher's reformation of the student's utterance without the error. So you repeat what the student said, but there would be no indication that, oh, there's something wrong. So, for example, the student said, why you don't like Mark? Okay, and then the teacher, to do recast, you have to say it again. But of course, this time correcting the error. So instead of why you don't like Mark, you say, why don't you like Mark? However, the danger here is that the students become confused about what they should focus on. Should they focus on the form or on the meaning? So what happened? In this case, what happened? What did the student focus on when he said, no, I don't like him? A few things. Did the student focus on the form or the meaning? Okay, you can actually respond in the chat box. Here, I can open. There. Meaning, yes. No, thank you, Ma'am Jelaine. Yes, the student focused on the meaning. The student thought that you asked him the question. But in fact, what you are doing is you are correcting the error. So this is something that could be dangerous, when you use recast. Especially when the recast comes in the form of a question. Okay, thank you, ma'am. So let's try to. Okay, okay. If this is the situation, your student told you, I take the bus to school every day. Okay, so how would you do recast in that situation? She said, it has a terrible smell. So remember, when we say recast, we will just say it again, but this time correct the error. Okay. Kindly type in the chat box, how would you do recast? Oops, I already showed. Any answers? You can type in the chat box. Okay, what is the answer? It has a terrible inside. Okay, it has. Okay, very active, Mom Julie. Yes, no? All you have to do is repeat. It has a terrible smell inside. Very good. So this is something that we also usually do in class, no? Recap. Okay, another technique that you can use is what we call clarification request. So from the term itself, clarification, you are trying to ask. You are trying to ask the student questions such as, pardon me, or what do you mean by, or in Bisaya dito ha, isa na. Okay, so something like that, no? So you wanted to clarify. So you ask questions. For example, in this case, the teacher asks, how do you often wash dishes? And then the student would say 14. So it's not a correct response. So the teacher would say, excuse me. So through that, the teacher is doing clarification request. And then the student would say 14 for a week. However, there is still an error. So what happens? The teacher moves to another technique, which is recap. And so the teacher would repeat and say 14 times a week. Okay, so the difference between recap and clarification is in clarification request, you are trying to ask questions and let the student clarify to you what is the student trying to say. Okay? And what is good about this example is there is an integration of another technique, which is the recap. So let's have a try again. What other questions would you ask aside from pardon me or what do you mean by excuse me? What other questions can we ask to do the clarification request? Okay. Or the usual questions that you would ask. Okay, anyone? Do you mean yes? Miss Ira. Pardon? Very good. And Cynthia. Okay, can you come again? Okay, that's it. No, come again. What is it again? So there are many ways, no? What is important here is you are not directly telling the student that that's an error, no? You are just implicitly doing it. Okay, can you repeat please? Okay, very good. No? You already know how to do this. It's just that it is only now that you know that it's the term. Okay, very good. Thank you so much, teachers. Okay, the third one is the meta-linguistic feedback. Okay, I think this was discussed by the previous speakers, no? What is meta-linguistic feedback? It has something to do with actually reviewing the concepts, okay, considering the concepts that are involved in that error, right? So, for example, here you would be giving comments or questions that suggests an error has occurred without explicitly correcting it. So you're not saying, oops, that's wrong. However, you are just trying to suggest, no? It also provides some type of grammar terminology. So you review the terms with them. Example, the student is saying, we look at the people yesterday, okay? And then, excuse me, without actually saying that, oops, there's something wrong, the teacher will just ask, what's the ending that we put on verbs when we talk about the past? Okay, so you're not saying that's wrong, but you're just asking them to recall, the concept that were taught to them. What was that again that we put on the verbs when we talk about the past? And so the students would think, okay, I think it's easy. And then you can ask them to repeat the statement. So here, you are giving comments, and you also you can also do questioning, like what is the example given, so that the students can review, oh, I think there's something wrong here. So they themselves will discover that there is an error in the statement. Okay. So let's have a practice. Next slide. So for example, you're already old. Let's imagine that we have already retired, and then our grandchild is talking to us in the garden, no, and then telling us, Lola, I love it when we spend time in the garden. So how would you give meta linguistics? Okay, Okay, just type your answers in the chat box. Oops, I revealed the answer. Okay, can you? I cannot see the chat. So how would you do meta-linguistic feedback in this situation? So again, no, you have to review the concept. No, what are the rules, the grammar terms? Okay, my dear little Ako, can you still remember the subject verb agreement? Yes, thank you, Ma'am Judy. How about the other? Okay, so, we are also trying to recall sa dali ni na rules, sa dali ni. So here it's like we are going back to the discussion, we're going back to the basics. Okay? So si Ma'am Judy lang, okay. Anyway, I know you're also reviewing, no? So this is how you would say it. You would say, okay, ako in the present tense, we only add s, okay, and if the verb, if the subject is third person singular, right? Yes, he, she, it. Or Mom Geraldine also said, we plus base form of the verb. If you have we as a subject, it's always followed by the base form. Thank you, Mom Judy and Mom Geraldine. So that's meta-linguistic feedback. You are trying to review the concept to them without actually telling them that there's an error there. So that they themselves will discover that, okay, it should be like this and not that. Okay? The fourth technique is elicitation. Okay, when we talk about elicitation, you are going to complete, no? You ask the student to complete your utterance or ask the students to reformulate their own utterance, no? Based on your partial sentence. So elicit, try to elicit from them the statements that would complete the sentence. Okay? For example, there are actually three ways of doing this. We can elicit completion of their own sentences. So we can say it and then wait for the response. Or you can also use question like, how do we say that? Or X, you replace it with better in English. So for example, how do we say plural in English? Or how do we say a certain term in English? Or you can also ask the student to reformulate. Like, I go to school every day. Okay? So there's an error there. So the teacher would just say, I go to school every. Okay, because the error is day, so you try to let the students give you the correct term. You elicit from them what should be the term to use. Okay, so day. And then the students will say, okay? So this is quite interesting because all they have to do is complete, the utterance. Okay, let's try. Okay, assuming that this is the situation. Okay, you're a student. You're talking to your classmate, and then your classmate will say, "Your sister always on the phone. She talks too much." So how would you apply elicitation here? Actually, you can combine, you can use another technique with elicitation. So kindly type your answers in the chat box. How would you correct it? Okay, anyone? How would you correct for elicitation? Okay, please open link for attendance. It's only one that I see. Okay, any teachers, how would you elicit? Okay, I have here two new messages. Okay, say it again, my sister. Okay, yes. Or Ma'am Wilmer, very good. G. Because the error is talk, so you just she. What again, Mampetti? You mean she talks too much? Okay, she what? Okay, so you already combine, no, the technique. So, what she talks? Okay, what she talks? Okay, she talks too much. So if the error is talk, so that's one response that you have to elicit it, from them. So you would say, what would you say? You would say, my sister is always on the phone. So here it's a recap first. And then we would say, she is there. You wait for the students to say talk. Okay, so she talk or talks. Okay, so Mom Analu is already giving options. So that's another technique. Okay, thank you very much. And for the fifth implicit technique, have repetition. So this is what some of you already did, no? Repetition means you are repeating the utterance, including the error, but the emphasis is on the error and then you put it in writing intonation so that it will form as a question. It would be like asking. For example, the is. So the teacher would say the is, no? That's what mom is also giving a while ago. She talk or talk. Okay? And so if you say we is, and then the students would say, oh, we are. Okay, so here, by doing repetition, you can actually make them realize that there's something wrong. So we are. So it's like telling them, are you sure about that? We are. We is. So the students would say, oh, it's not we is, but rather we are. Okay, so let's have this example. Okay, you and your friends are talking, no? You're co-teacher, and then the teacher said, my husband is the worst. He never helps around the house. So what could be a way to correct this using repetition? Yes, conjugate, no? My husband are, we have two husbands. Why husband? He never helps. Okay, okay. So thank you very much, no? My husband is. My husband is already doing the task. So for repetition, you will sound like you're asking, my husband are the worst? And then you're going to say, oh, my husband is the worst. And if it says he never helps, he never, okay. He help around the house. Okay, very good. So thank you very much, everyone. No, you already know how to do this, and I'm sure you can already apply this in your class. Okay, and finally we go to the last, which is the explicit correction. So here, you are already correcting, no, directly. So you are already giving the correct form of the utterance. Very obvious. This is what we usually do, right? So when the student is say the dog went fastly, the fastly does not exist, fast does not say ly, so the say the dog went. So let's try. Okay, what would you do in this situation? Okay, please type your answers in the chat box. Okay, so here you have explicitly correct. Yes, no, it should not be. Okay, you can continue. Sorry, I muted myself. Okay, so there, no, that's not correct. You would say these bags are killing my back. Okay, very good. So we actually know how to do explicit correction, but it's very obvious that we give no, the correct way of saying it. Okay, so which of the techniques do you prefer? Do you prefer the first, the second, or the last one? Explicit? Okay, Mom Elsie said explicit. I love all. Yes, I love all. All. Okay, the last one. All of the above. Yes. So actually, it's up to us. Whichever is suitable, whichever would be easy for us, then we could use that, considering the different situations as well. Okay. Now, this is another very important thing to remember that when we correct error, we also have to notice uptake and repair. Yes, we can employ all for variety. So when you say uptake, these are actually a learner's observable response to corrective feedback. Because if our students do not notice that you are giving corrective feedback and that they are making an error, so it would be ineffective. So when we correct, it's not effective anymore because they did not notice it. So when we correct, let us try to observe the feedback of our students. Is there an uptake? Well, because if there's none, then we have to do something. We can adjust our technique or we can apply another technique. Excuse me. So that's uptake. If they if there's an uptake, then that's the time that our students can also do repair. So the repair is the ability of the students to notice the error and actually correct the error themselves. So let's take a look at this example. No? Remember the find someone who activity. For example, this is the conversation that took place when you did the activity. So kindly check what are the different corrective feedback techniques that are used by the teacher quiz. Okay, you can read the conversation between the teacher and the student. Okay, and then tell me what are the different corrective feedback techniques that are used by the teacher quiz. So Tana here is the student and Chris is the teacher. So let's find out what are the corrective feedback used by the teacher. Because here in the conversation, there's a part where there is no uptake, meaning that the students did not notice the correction. Okay, so I will give you time. You can type your answers in the chat box. So what are the different corrective feedback techniques used by our teacher? Okay, anyone? So the teacher said, what did you find out about Sam? Hannah said she loved. Okay, repetition. Explicit correction. We have repetition. Yes, repetition. Okay, repetition. Meta-linguistic. Okay, repetition. Let's take a look. Okay, so here we can see that the teacher used repetition first. Yes, no? However, the problem here is that Hannah did not notice the error. There is no uptake on behalf of Hannah. So what happens is that Chris, the teacher, gave another technique, which is the meta-linguistic feedback. So Hannah still doesn't have any uptake. She's still thinking. So what happened? Chris this time already made explicit correction. And so after the explicit correction, Hannah already did the repair that Sam loved Lana. And so the teacher said, good job. Okay, and good job to you, for identifying that there's repetition, there's metalinguistic feedback, and explicit correction. So what's important here is that you notice that the teacher really observed that there was no uptake in the first error correction and in the second error correction. So what the teacher did was to give the explicit correction so that the student can finally notice that there was an error and actually give the correct response. Okay, so that's the beauty, of having multiple corrective feedback techniques. Okay, so question. Why did I keep changing technique? Why did the teacher keep on changing the technique? And why did he use first the implicit before the explicit? Okay, so can you write your answer? Why did Chris change from repetition then to metalinguistic? And why did he not go directly to explicit correction? Yes, thank you, Mom, today. To know what works best. Very good. No? Because sometimes we might think that it's only explicit correction, that will work. But maybe, the first two. So not to hurt the student. Yes, thank you very much, Mosetti. Okay, Sir Clement also said to know the right thing. Okay, why implicit first before explicit? Okay, okay, what should be the best action that we need to do? Okay, so why implicit before explicit? So that we can also encourage critical thinking, in our students. We give them time. We try to give them a chance to have them the higher order thinking. So implicit would actually be a good way of exposing our students to higher order thinking. Okay, thank you very much for your yes, the hot. No? The hot. Okay, so let's have an assessment. If you decide, no? This was the one that Mantakai showed earlier. No? So you have a student who is at the intermediate level. She has no knowledge of grammar terms. So how would you correct this? My mother goes shopping and they they always bring me something home. So how would you correct this and what would you use? Okay, let's see if you have the same answer earlier when Mang Kakay asked you this. Okay, how would you correct this? My mother goes shopping. What technique would you use? You can type your answers in the chat box. My mother go. Okay, so you are doing the repetition. Another goal, and then they. And another goal is repetition, and they is elicitation. Very good. Repetition, yes. Okay, recap. Another goal shopping. Okay, very good. No, I think you already know how to do it. So you can actually apply different ways of error correction techniques. Yes. So I can see that you are using the implicit and nobody actually used the explicit correction. So congratulations. I'm so proud of you. Very good. Okay, now I have another question. No? This is also posted by the speaker. What if this is the situation? So you have an intermediate level student who actually is knowledgeable about grammar terms and rules. No? She knows that. However, she is shy. Okay, she is shy and she struggles to communicate freely. And then you have already done your controlled activity with the passive voice. And then during the pre-activity, you overhear the student saying, she will rob with a man. So the question is, would you correct the error given this situation? What do you think? So this is where the topic discussed by Ma'am Kakay earlier, my partner, you can apply that here in this situation. Okay, Ma'am Kakay said yes. About the others, no, it depends on the lesson. According to Ma'am Anelu. Yes, there's an error, sir. And the question now is, would you correct? Now, given this situation, yes, but we'll use implicit. Okay. Let the student discover her mistake. Okay. About the others, okay, remember, this is a situation. No? She is a shy student. And actually, she is knowledgeable. She's knowledgeable about grammar terms and grammar rules. So, maybe this was said as a slip of her tongue. Okay, maybe it slipped from her mouth, no? So remember, thank you very much, no? Yes, you have to consider that situation. Very good. Take him on Judy. You have to consider the situation. Remember that she is shy. Okay, she is shy and she struggles in communicating freely. And finally, she communicates freely. However, she just made a mistake. She was robbed by the man. Yes, So, in this situation, you have to consider the student. You know that she knows how to do it, and since she's shy, you must not correct the error right then and there, but you can just um, yes, correct it in Friday. Not that talk to her. Did you really mean to say what you said? You were rough, and then she would notice, oh, I'm sorry, teacher, that was only a slip of the tongue. Okay, yes, she's alone, correct her. But if she's with her classmates, no. Very good. No? That's correct. So now you know that when it's a suitable time for us to correct the error, and when it is not suitable to correct the error. And if it is suitable, you can actually use a different error correction technique. Yes, Monchile, know the right place and time. Yes. Okay, very good. Now I'm so happy to hear your answer. You already know. Okay. So, as a review, here are some research about feedback. No? So, according to research, it was found out that in French, content-based classrooms, recast are actually less likely to result in uptake. Meaning it's not always being observed by the students. They don't immediately notice recast. But clarification requests, meta-linguistic feedback, and repetition were more effective, for students to notice that, oops, there's an error. And of course, the elicitation and meta-linguistic feedback would actually result to correct use of the uh, language target, the target language. So this is actually according to a French content-based classroom. So we can actually try it in our classroom. Maybe we have the same situation like in the French class. Um, Maybe recast could also have less resource in uptake, but we can still try. No? We can still try to apply. But definitely, we can combine the different error techniques so as to allow our students to notice the error and find it. Okay. So as a review, sorry about my voice. I'm actually having cough right now. So what is the secret to feedback and error correction? Actually, there is no secret. Okay, there's no secret. You need to say it really depends on the situation. The feedback, error correction, or teaching skills that really take practice and develop over time. It's not that you can immediately master it or you can immediately do it in your classroom. No? It takes time. And it also depends on your culture, on your context, because maybe students in MOB would have a different perception with students in 71, or Mexican side. So it depends on the teacher's context and also the individual student's attitude towards error correction because some students could also take correction negatively. So you have to consider that. And it also depends on the activity type and approach to teaching. So what is your focus? Are you meaning focused right now or are you form focused? Okay, so there's actually no secret. It really depends on the context, that you are in. So I hope that you are able to get the important things about error correction. So let's not forget, sorry, let's remember that over and under correction have consequences. So try to find a balance. Let's not under correct because as what was discussed, it could lead to it's also not political aspect as to lead. And then negotiate a plan for error correction with the students. Try to understand that they don't have enough background, so maybe you can do some review. And there are multiple questions to ask to determine when and how to give corrective feedback. No? So you ask yourself first, hi, should I correct? And then if I correct this, what would happen? Is the timing perfect or not? And then uptake and repair. So please always take notice when you give feedback. Also observe if the students have an uptake, meaning are they noticing it? Okay, and then have them repair it. Okay, and of course, remember the Superstix, no? The recast, clarification request, no? Ato na gid siyang imong Bible, ato na ni i-memorize. Ang himo tag term, RCMERE. Para ma-remember natin. Okay? And so, thank you for your assignment. The assignment na gid ni tanan. I know it's that we have limited time. So all you have to do is create an error correction strategy plan, just like the find someone do activity. Okay, so you can do that, something like that. But make sure that in your plan, you have specific objectives, and then you will identify which specific error will you focus on, and what error correction technique will you use, and in which circumstance, why, and what will you do, if there is no update. Okay, so assignment, the analogy assignment. Okay. So thank you very much, everyone. So these are the references. Again, now we are just sharing what our speaker actually shared also to us in the video. So thank you for listening, and I hope that you learned a lot. And you still understood me, even if my voice is quite hoarse for the day. So thank you, and God bless us all. Thank you very much, Mama Ann of Alubilid National Comprehensive High School. So this time, please reserve your questions later. Let's move on to our next speaker this afternoon. Again, thank you very much for the very informative topic that we discussed a while ago. So this time, let's move on to the next topic, which is planning lessons using communicative approach. Let's have our speakers, Miss Dorcas and Bandiala, Master Teacher 2 of Consuelo National High School, together with her partner, Miss Teresa May Factos, Special Science Teacher 1 of Talisayan National. So take it away, Ma'am Dorcas.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon. To our SBS, our Schools Division Superintendent Dr. Jonathan S. De La Peña. To our Assistant Schools Division Superintendent Dr. Nympha R. Lago. To our CIB Chief, Dr. Erlinda Dael. To our Education Program Supervisor, Ma'am Gladys Banat, in the ETS in English, and of course to my fellow resource speakers and to the language teachers and participants in this webinar. A pleasant afternoon. The second topic for this afternoon is planning lessons using communicative approach. With me is my partner, Ma'am Reza May Pato. But before heading on to the topic, please, I would like you to look into this image. Imagine that this is you and your friends. So please help us understand friends, what you and your friends are saying by filling out the bubble boxes with your conversation. So please do write your conversation in the chat box. And since I could not, I mean, maybe I could do it mistake. Did you go? Excuse me. Okay, anyone? Would you like to share your um, what do you think your would you like to share what you and your friends are talking or discussing? So you notice there are how many 10 bubble boxes, so maybe you can make use of this. Okay. Hello, sir. We are together. Whatever happens, we will stay forever as friends. How I wish we can go and hang out soon. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Oh, it's all about feelings and emotions. Joke lang, Marites friends. And aday na Marites friends. Marites and friends in the house. Okay. Actually, this image is an image from a Canada, TLT or Communicative Language Teaching Canada, and this is actually focusing on language teaching. But I just made use of this, as the jump start to our topic today. communicative approach because this image actually gives us an idea of what communicative approach is. So maybe we can also use this even in our classes. Now, when we try to trigger communication from among our learners. Excuse me. So this afternoon, just like how we have been very participative earlier, I've noticed that everybody seems to be very active in the discussion. I am also hoping, along with my partner, that the participants will be doing a lot of talking participation. It is good to see you all amidst the pandemic and hassles over health issues. If you notice, most of our speakers since this morning, Ma'am Noemi, Ma'am Maan, I don't know, even I think Ma'am Gladys also have this problem with colds, no? So, pero still, kanang we are we are still pulling through. Okay. So let us see what we're going to talk about in this afternoon. But before that, allow me to thank you everyone by the way for the participation, and then allow me to give you a background first on what communicative approach. Earlier this morning, actually, Ma'am Noemi presented the background of language teaching or language learning. So, communicative approach is based on the idea that learning language successfully comes through having to communicate real meaning. So there is that term there, communicate real meaning. Mama, I asked earlier, which will you prefer, meaning or was that question there, rules? So somebody answered meaning, which is true. No, when we ask, sometimes we don't care about grammar anymore. We just have to listen to what our students are trying to say, the meaning of what they're trying to say. When learners are involved in real communication, their natural strategies for language acquisition will be used. That is true. And then this will allow them to learn to use the language. Classroom activities guided by the communicative approach are characterized by trying to produce meaningful and real communication at all levels. As a result, there may be more emphasis on skills rather than the systems, and lessons in communicative approach are more learner centered. So it's more focused on the learner, and there may be use of authentic material. So, how is communicative approach used in the classroom? Ganina, our speakers have kind of really guided us on how to present these lessons to our students, no? And then carried kayo mga pamaagi and how we can use that. Communicative activities in communicative approach should include a clear situation or context, the roles of the speakers in a communicative purpose. Practice different formal and informal interactions through game, role play, and problem solving tasks. So, what does teaching grammar communicatively mean? So, because of course, um, since we are talking about grammar, so it is part when we discuss, no, it is always part. Now we ask about teaching grammar communicatively and what does it mean? It means that grammar instruction and lessons are not limited to introducing a grammar item or items, or that having learners do controlled exercises and then later assessing students on their ability to understand grammar items. It goes beyond that. So, dili lang siya limited to doing controlled exercises. Okay? So there's more than these things. So, sa communicative approach, dimension kaganina na si Noam Chomsky, these are the people, Michael Halliday, Del Hines, these are the people or theories behind communicative approach. That starting from 1960, kanang competence and performance in language learning, and then developed na po ni Michael Halliday in 1970 until ni Del Hines na who said how language functions are expressed through grammar. So eventually, nag-evolve siya and develop. So the very focus of ours of this topic, planning lessons using the communicative approach. In this webinar, Monisha akong objectives, we will follow steps to create communicative lesson, which means basically we are going to make a communicative lesson together while I am also going to show you a communicative lesson that our original resource speaker, Ma'am Sarah Parks, Dinina, they introduced ang speaker secret Mr. Christopher Ott, and then Inisha, this part was being discussed by me, Miss Samantha Parks. And she created kanang communicative lesson. Okay, and in the process of showing you that, we are also going to identify, next to that, we are going to identify the components of a communicative lesson. And then the second half, which is accordingly the more crucial, the more practical half rather, we're going to adapt those lesson components for teaching online or in other modalities. Mauna siya ang question nato karon. So you must be asking questions like I did too. Like you might say, oh, okay, siya naman is siya, but is it applicable to my context? Or how am I going to apply this to a paper-based modular modality? Those two, these things are actually have been discussed in this webinar. Hence, let's roll together. And of course, let us also remember this thing. Mauna siya i-emphasize ni Miss Samantha Parks. According to her, options. We have to open ourselves with options, 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 and a lot more of options. Considering that we are again back to being like stuck in a box kung saan na sa itong situation karon that daghan na galit na kasakit. This pandemic has just created so much toll on us that of course, as teachers, as language teachers, nothing's gonna stop us right now, right? We are still on the go. So I know that this topic, teaching communicative approach, can be very challenging in different modalities. Nauna na ganita nga, how can all my students be communicative enough when they're, all of what they're doing is actually right, diba? Kasagaran sulat-sulat yun. But then, yes, we can push our limits to making use of our options and more options, as what Ms. Clark said, and make our lessons a little bit more communicative. Okay, so our agenda for today is to review the Superstix, steps for creating a lesson plan, then parts of a communicative lesson, and lesson demo with adaptations. Okay, so let's just make it very fast with the review type. Kenny, what are the Superstix? Can you write down in the chat box? Very quick. What are the Superstix error correction techniques you learned? Not last week. This question was based actually from the original kanang mga participants. Pero this was discussed just mga few minutes ago, no, by a very brilliant speaker, Mama Ann. So, what are the Superstix error correction techniques? Please write them down in our chat box. We have recast, repetition, multilinguistic, Master Clemente, Analu, I say, recast, repetition, clarification. Okay, and I said super six. Okay, see, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think, let me go back to, is that naka-complete? Kasi lang naka-complete, can I ask for, tanaw na to, kabalik na to. Ang nakauna nga nag-complete is kung si Nakamura si Michelle Nakamura. Recast, repetition, metalinguistic feedback, explicit correction, elicitation, kulang, no? Kulang. Kinsay naka-complete? Si, kinsa man ni? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ulit di ako
Ha
na.
ha ha ha.
This naman, last. One last.
La 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 la.
Six. Super six. Error correction technique, Mama. Please help me, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. They are
Katong
all
correct, katong correct
Yes.
spelling, yun, ma'am. Ang first, ma'am. Because
first one is
I would like to give a 100 peso load for the first one to get it, ma'am. To give me, to have given the correct 6 answers. Give me the name, ma'am. Send later.
I'd have to back with.
Yes, ma'am. Salamat, ma'am, ha, Mama Ann.
Exactly.
Okay, let me proceed to the next question. Thank you, everyone, for the participation sa Super 6, no? So, the Super 6, excuse me, repetition,
Ay.
clarification request, recast, explicit correction, and metalinguistic feedback, elicitation, and elicitation. Ingon si Mama Ann, we will make this as language teachers, we will make this as our Bible. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with memorizing all of this. Okay, so second question. What is the most important thing to know about giving feedback to students? Go. What is the most important thing to know about giving feedback to students? Go. Answer. Wala pa, nobody is answering. What is the most important thing to know about giving feedback to students? You have to, for them to know their errors. Okay, si Ma'am Ana Lugo Asis, naka-answer siya, uptake and repair. It is really very important to learn this, meaning uptake and repair. Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am Ana Lu. You also have a prize from me later on. Okay, so thank you, everyone. So in this lesson also, Ma'am Samantha Parks pointed out points to ponder from this month-long webinar. So we would also like to present to you these points from the participants, original participants, as far as their takeaways are concerned. Okay, number 1 from Amelia Jose Garcia, the best correction technique now is the one that best fits our learners. Correct? Do you agree that the best correction technique? Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier, not really one. Wala di siya specific, pero the best one is that something that best fits our learners. No? That's one point to consider, to ponder on. The number 2, by Seneza Obrador, there is no secret to error correction and feedback. These are teaching skills that take practice and develop over time. Mao po ito i-emphasize ka ganina sa summary ni Mama Ann na no, there is no specific error or secret to error correction. Because basically as teachers, these are our teaching skills which we develop over time. Next is from Jean Pauliano. Ingon siya, the best part in week 4 session, what
Uptake and repair. It is the moment when the learners notice their wrong grammar and immediately respond to correct them based on feedback. And in correcting student errors, don't over or under correct them. Era Libongko said, find balance. So, all of these were basically emphasized ganina ni Ma'am Maan. Okay. O katong kauban niya. Stop. topic ng tatay. Okay. So sa ato, how do we ponder on this? What will be our reflection at yung presentation, at yung points? Let me ask you this question. Teachers, where is real communication? In our class, in our lessons, this is a question actually brought by Scott Thornberry, a dogma for ELP IAT 2000. He said,
Okay. So, mauna siya ang purpose why we have this discussion today. Steps. Basically, this lesson plan will actually encompass all the lessons that we have learned throughout this seminar. And since this morning up to the present. So, excuse me. Sorry. So, we're going to, from there, no, we are going to go over the steps for creating a lesson plan. Mag-create ka ng lesson plan or steps na di ay. We're going to have a conceptual plan on how to go about.
in your process checklist. So, who would like to share? Maybe you can switch on your microphone if you would like to share. Just one from the participants. Given the scenario, anyone, please, pwede ra ka kuan, mag-switch on siguro sa inyong kuan, microphone. Pwede ka ba ma'am para if they want to say something to share. Kinsa, pwede ko mag-ask from the participants. Who among the participants would like to share? Kung ingon ka sa imong teacher, may school head, kinsa may gusto mag-share din? Ma'am Judy Egar. Sorry, supervisor, nag-inform sa inyo to that he will come to observe or she will come to observe your class and that you are requested to prepare for the observation. And part of the observation is a pre-conference where he is asking for your lesson plan. So, ang question is, how do you go about in planning your lesson? Are you this kind of person on the left, this one, kaning nice circular motion, no? Are you the kind of teacher on the left where you plan as if you are moving in a circular motion? Or you are this in the middle, the one in the middle na kanang brainstorming, no? The brainstorm where gapi kay mga ideas. Or the third one, na you write everything or you put everything in a checklist, so you check everything in a linear process. Asa ka ani as a teacher who prepares for your lesson plan?
Okay, so actually, good afternoon, everyone, of course, for our very beautiful and brilliant speaker. Ma'am G, pasensya mo sa akong boses wala dyan. After presenting, akan reviewing the situation, was just presented to Ma'am G. In my answer, I already answered in the chat box and I chosen brainstorming letter D. But now, as I've heard now, presentation, I I would rather choose letter C, which is in it is a more on an organized plan, since I together with the principal we will be making lesson plan. We will making the observation. So uh, for me, for my lesson plan to be organized, I would rather choose steps by steps on which to which to focus first, and second, next. So I would rather choose a lesson plan which is an organized lesson plan which follow the step by step series of activities or plan to be
Recording in progress.
course to be given or to be presented to our students. Um, Speaking of the brainstorming, for me it's still good. Like for me the best is the letter C, which is the organized lesson plan. That would be my idea, Ma'am G.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ma'am.
You're welcome, Ma'am
G,
G.
no? I also read, thank you sa imong idea, man, no? Wala may wrong answer for this. Actually, some of the answer, I believe all of that, no? I've been doing all of that at one point. Others would say I am more of a checklist person. Others would say I am more of a kanang circular motion na person that tuyok yun ko, but then I know where I began and where to end. I don't know. And then I am also a brainstorm person who loves to brainstorm. Kay when I start thinking, no, just bright ideas can come flashing to my head. Nana. So it depends on the person, on the teacher actually. No? So okay, so what are some steps you take when planning your lessons? What are some steps you take when planning your lessons? You can write your answers in the chat box. What are the steps? The steps we can take in planning our lesson. Anyone? Unsa, I am more of a checklist, mga gyapon nino. Selecting the subject matter, yes, of course. No, it is very important. I would like to know all my options. Identify my objective, okay? So, all right, competencies, objectives, identify the learning objectives. First, focus on the objective. Okay, so alas tanan would always, syempre, natin target. Okay, so, thank you everyone. Plan to assess students' understanding. So, okay, thank you everyone sa inyong mga brilliant answer. Steps you can take when planning a communicative lesson. Okay, number one, a communicative lesson man siya, it is not just simply kanang bisag unsa lang nga lesson, it is communicative. No? So there is this adjective gani gibutang communicative approach. Okay. First step is select grammar focus or point to teach. Ako siyang ganyan objective dapat kabalik ka what to teach or unsa ang point to teach, no? So select grammar focus. Grammar focus. Since we are talking about grammar, so taking a part here in this lesson, it is obviously that the the speaker's topic is about grammar. So included did siya, yung point to teach is grammar. So it has to be included. And the second is choose practice, choose the practice activities. So when you say choose the practice activities, this goes back. Okay, thank you, Ma'am Michelle, for sharing, ha? This goes back about thinking which activities that you can do with your students to help them reach the objectives or help them teach grammar or help them rather learn grammar points. Diba? Kaya naman tayo objectives. So, second to that is choose practice activities na pwede na ito gamitin to reach these objectives. Okay, and then third, okay, requesting to get my phone. Is the problem my phone or is there someone that opens a young audio? Please switch off the audio, please. Murag akong kuan ang naisapa. Naka-headset manggod ko kay my audio is more na yung kuan. Okay. The third one is write the lesson plan. For some, this may be the hardest step. Diba? Writing the lesson plan, mo na siya ang pinaka-hardest step because it does really require a lot of thinking and brainstorming. Okay. And then, after you have written the lesson plan, of course, that's the part where you have to teach the lesson. Teach what you have written. And after teaching the lesson, you go back to this finish na part, the reflective part. Reflect on the success of the lesson. This is the part where, as teachers, we have to ask ourselves, what went wrong in my lesson? What did not go well? What point or which point should I need kind of revision? Okay, and then of course the last part is revise the lesson after the reflection. Maybe we don't do all of these formally, but sorry. but information is somewhere in our head. So we know, oh, something is wrong, something is not right. So we are going to correct this or do this. Okay, let's go over each of the steps one by one. Number one, identify the grammar point to teach. Look at the text, reading, listening, or hand out and see what grammar is important for the students or what is new. Okay, what is this all about? Ganina, it was also mentioned that um, we asked ba kung dapat pa ba ni siya i-teach? Because sometimes in the textbook, some grammar are not explicitly taught, right? It was mentioned by Mama Ann earlier. So sometimes we ask whether it is important to include grammar. And when we do not have the luxury of these textbooks na grammar is explicitly taught. So sometimes as teachers, we need to figure out how to go about teaching grammar in a particular topic. Katong you mentioned, like even in senior high school, wala namang yung grammar lesson. How do we integrate grammar in teaching reading and writing? How do we explicitly teach our learners in senior high school? Sa sa junior high school, I suppose, yes, naan na siya maka-insert, maka-integrate o grammar lessons atong English subjects. So in webinar 2 of webinar 3, no, naani mga specific topics mentioned. No, this is referring to the mga weeks na i-discuss ng mga topics mentioned or grammar in context or grammar at the point of need, which was also mentioned earlier. Actually, ang pila ka weeks na discussion ani nga webinar was actually or actually lumped in one day today. Pero at least no, we are learning also. Okay, so another question is, how can we present the target grammar point effectively? Balik ka punta sa saying, it was over and over again mentioned, implicitly or explicitly. Pwede na siya subtle or it could be outrightly kanang presented, inductively or deductively, or it can be in chant or memes or finger puppets. And then when? Asa nga part siya i-present? So is it before, during, or after, or all? So pwede. Giingon ba to di ba it could be any, depending as a teacher, or the point of need. Kanus ginid, as the need arises. So kita nga teachers, we know better, we know our learners better, we know the kind of learners that we have. So we know kanus ata dapat nato i-insert ni nga mga kaning grammar point to teach. Okay, step 2 is choose the activities. Okay. What kind of activities would help your students? Ikaw gihapon na nakabaluan na kanana we assess our learners at the beginning of the school year. So but we have to make sure that the kind of activities that we have to give to our learners should be very engaging and informative and can be done in your current environment, in your context. Dili siya impossible. And di lang basta-basta copy just because this is effective sa uban, this will also work. Tama tong ingon ni Mama Ana, what might have worked in asa to Villanueva may not work in Tagulwan or in other schools, right? So it can be done according to your context and in your current environment. In communicative language teaching, we talk about two kinds of practice. Okay, two kinds of practice. The mentioned earlier, controlled, restricted, or guided. These are three different words, pero they point to the same idea. Okay, and the second practice is free, freer, or communicative. So look at the different words, pero same ra iyang idea. Now, like siya focus, controlled, restricted, or guided practice, no, is focused on accuracy. It focuses on accuracy. So why? Okay, this is this is the part of practice where you get to correct your learners, kaya kaganina, using those error techniques, no, error correction techniques. And then the free, clear, or communicative is focused on fluency. Okay. Can you put the part here, this fluency thing, is a part where students get to talk, no, have them experiment in the language, no need for correction, just let them talk, no, kay, until katong giingon sa mga participants earlier na let them discover, let them be exposed to language, and then let them discover their mistakes, Kita, we are just there to guide them, according to whatever atong gamiton nga techniques for them, applicable for them. So, kaning tulo ka duha ka practice, one focuses on accuracy, the other focuses on fluency. So, lahi iyang focus. Okay, we're down to the third parts of communicative lesson. Write the lesson plan. Tama na, writing the lesson plan na. If you are going to write your lesson plan, what are some components of a communicative lesson plan? Sige daw. Go. Yes. Anyone? What are some components? Okay, Sir Nilo, beginning, middle, and end. Okay. What are objectives? Warm up. Okay. Objectives, review, activity, according to Jelaine, pre, middle, post, Master Clemente, presentation, practice, assessment. Okay, thank you. Thank you sa inyong mga tubag. Okay. Again, we have to be sure about what are we looking for in this particular question, because there's much a difference between parts of a lesson plan, the simply lesson plan, and communicative lesson plan. And according to Miss Parks, Miss Samantha Parks, it is not making a communicative lesson plan is not actually a complicated activity or thing to do. No, the component of it is not a complicated kanang component. No, it is very easy. Okay, so these are the three. Tama to si ma'am. Kaysa ito nag-answer ganina, nasa taas, no? Ang katong si Ma'am Jeline ako, remove middle post. Ako ito isa, nakatama siya na beginning, middle, end. Okay. So, kana lang, tulo lang din ang part sa communicative lesson plan. Okay? So, ang communicative lesson plan, it has a beginning, and then it has a middle. And somewhere in the middle, it consists of two parts. The controlled, guided, or restricted practice, or ang satong giingon, that focuses on accuracy, and Sir Lapad, Sir Nilo Lapad, nag-mention siya, no? Sakto, beginning, middle, and end. And the second one, the middle, ang part siya sa middle na communicative lesson plan is the pre-prayer communicative practice, or that which is focused on fluency. So how will we know when the students have succeeded? So kung to pagkabalo kung nag-succeeded ba, successful ba ang ating mga students sa ilang practice. Okay, so this is now the template that I'm going to share with you to show you na presented by Ma'am Samantha Parks, no? Siya mismo ang nag-create ang communicative lesson plan template. Okay. So you have there type of class, topic, level, target grammar item, lesson objective. Okay. So granting, gamit man ako ang iyang gigamit ko. So granting, ang pili ko na topic is, ang type of class is middle school ESL in the Philippines, and then 7th grade. And then ang topic dayon, the context or the situation is talking about where we have been and describing a picture. And then the target grammar item is prepositions, specifically in, on, and at. Okay, then we have the objective here. Describe a picture provided or of themselves detailing the time, and place in the picture while accurately using the prepositions in, on, and at. So, mo na siya ang template for communicative lesson plan. Now, ano to siya ang naka-template? Let's start thinking about engaging ways you could introduce or present the topic. Preposition ha ang topic. So if you were going to present this topic, preposition, in, on, at, how will you start the presentation? Unsa man kaya ang imong engaging activities? What engaging activities are you going to do? Are you going to provide in presenting this topic? Sige daw, teachers. Storytelling, picture analysis, okay, yes, giving directions, no, daghan na kayo mga activity, tama, no? Again, kita may director, realia, illustrations, present letter writing, okay. So kita man ang teachers, kita yung hibaloon sa atong angay ihatag sa atong mga learners, okay. So these are the suggested activities, which of course daghan pagit kay tanan na pwede nato mahatag, no? Telling a story, realia, reusing realia, describing a scene, listening to text, reading a text, listening that has a text with it, or students can listen and take notes, read out loud, etc., etc. And then again, emphasize there are so many options that we can use, can provide. You can even create your own, no, activities. Fun. Kana lang dili lang yun tama Sir Clemente, no? Of course, it should be very fun-filled, activities where learning takes place. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So, nanata, there are so many options. So now let's start with the beginning. Okay, after from taking from that katong template, so we now start with a presentation. Notice there are questions here. These are the plans, no? These are the segments that of the template, things to think about in your presentation speech. So pwede kang how will you engage learners or arouse their interest in what is to follow? And then how will you introduce the target grammar item? How will you situate it or contextualize it? What examples will you give? How can you make sure that the examples are effective, memorable, and meaningful? How will you check learners' understanding? So these may be questions that you would like to answer, no, para in creating your beginning of your presentation. And then there is an approximation of time, 5 to 10. And the provide me minutes parts is only 5 to 10 minutes for the presentation stage. But then according to her, it depends on the teacher. You can make it shorter or longer. But then the very point here is in the presentation stage is not the focus of the lesson here. But man, nasa may focus, it is the communicative it is the center here is the student, no, student centered man siya because it is communicative. It is a communicative lesson. So dili kaayo mag tanawon ang time should be enough for this activity. Okay. So according to Miss Parks, this is what she's going to do. Present a family vacation photo, ask students to identify or guess where the photo was taken, mo na iyang activity. Then try to have students' answers move from general to more specific. So siya ang iyang ipa-answer ang mga bata based on the photo na iyang i-provide. Okay. Next, pwede po siya, students can read or listen to Voice of America every day. It's an audio na maka-learn ang bata on grammar rules, no? Voice of America. So, pwede niya to listen to this. and or discuss the two charts, moving from general to specific. So, na siya options to do these things. Okay. Now, moving to the guided activities, kay middle na ta, mo sa beginning. So, granting you are done with the presentation sa beginning part. Now, naana ka sa middle part of your lesson plan, of communicative lesson plan. What are some activities you could do for guided practice? Katong guided practice, katong that focuses on accuracy. So, write your ideas in the chat. What are the activities guided practice na pwede nimo buhaton, drills or chants? Thank you again, Sir Nilo. Yes, you can do drills or chants. Unsa man yan specific group activities, Ma'am Edgar? Okay, board work, present sentences with prepositions and highlight them, sentence drill. Okay, so I suppose, prepositions man, so drama. Okay, na maabot ang drama, Ma'am Edgar. Unsa pa yun? Interview. Okay. Sige, tanaw na to na ato ka man i-appropriate. Guessing games, singing and dancing. Okay. So we will appropriate this sa atong guided activities. We'll see, no? Let us see kung sakto ang atong kabalo mo kita kung sakto ba ta or dili, di ba? Okay, we can do story chain, drills or chants, dicto gloss, guessing games, close activities, dialogue, isa pa, panel discussion, kay guided activities man siya. So as teachers, no, you will provide rules in the activity. Again, there are many options. Tama, Mr. Clemente Abao. Sir Abao, sakto kaayo. There are always so many options that we can choose from. Okay. So, Sir Monisha, how will you help learners? Questions to ponder on. How will you help learners focus on the target grammar item? Diri, if you notice, no, the control, the kind of restricted kuan, guided controlled practice is 10 to 15 minutes. So, mas longer siya kaysa presentation. So how will you help learners focus on the target grammar item? Is the practice activity contextualized? How will learners get feedback on their accuracy? So ang gibuhat ni Miss Samantha Parks here is, ang iya is, students practice asking each other questions about where they are right now using the model. And then teacher answers questions and gives corrections to pairs. And then students share answers in a large group. Then teacher writes correct answers on the board. So inana no, para one way of letting the learners, the students know the correct answers. So inana after sa the smaller group, then to the bigger group, and then everybody gets the chance to know the correct answer. Okay. There are two practice no, in the middle. First is that focuses on accuracy. The second one that focuses on the which focuses on fluency. Atong communicative practice. So, what are some activities you could do? You could provide for communicative practice. Again, write your answers in the chat box. Unsa na po? Drills, group discussion, group reporting, role play, debate, yes, sakto, interview, no, we can have this. Remember, kung ano ba ni siya communicative, freer ang atong mga bata. Okay, monologue, okay, etc. Thank you again, my fellow teachers, for your very active participation. I read, I speak. Okay. Yes, these are some of the communicative activities that we can do in the middle part, no? To check the fluency of our learners, interviews, jigsaw, role play, debates, essay writing, presentations, conversations, and again, so much more options. Okay. So if you notice in the communicative practice, longer na kaayo ang gi-provide ni Miss Parts na approximate ang time niya sa allocation sa time is 20 to 25 minutes. What is the idea here? Okay. The idea here is that in prayer or communicative practice, learners will just have to be given the opportunity to just keep on talking, to talk. So these are the questions we have to consider. How will you structure a safe environment for experimentation? How will learners employ the target structure to engage in meaningful communication? Remember the question Atungi mentioned, where is real communication? Where is real communication? Is it buried deep down under the avalanche of sa itong mga kanang photocopies and sa itong other activities? Sometimes mas hindi na mao ang atong gibuhat, right? Okay. So, how will learners employ the target structure to engage in meaningful communication? So it has to be always a meaningful kind of communication. So, Miss Parks mentioned that what you will do is students present their photo using the model as a guide, and then students present first to small groups, then volunteers share in large groups, and then students ask each other follow-up questions about the picture. And then sometimes if walay mag-volunteer, the teacher can initiate and take the initiative to ask any student from the group, no, maybe motivate the student like um, Miss Sarah or Miss Violi's work is interesting. Maybe she would like to present it to the class. No, that way the learner would be very motivated and encouraged to share. So pwede kung sometimes na instances that learners will not volunteer. Okay. And then lastly, closure and evaluation. That's the last part. Remember, three rabi to no, not complicated. You have the beginning, you have the middle. The middle part is composed of practices, which focuses on accuracy and fluency, and the last part is lesson ending. How will you check? That's a question. If learners can use the target structure to communicate their own idea, how will you ask them for feedback? So, of course, a teacher, let even see Miss Park as a teacher, you can listen to the presentation of for accuracy, but of course, as you listen, do not interrupt. This is no longer the time to interrupt. What you're going to do as a teacher who will evaluate your learners kanang learning, no, ilang improvements, you have to take note of those learners who did it, who were able to get the correct kanang presentation, and then you can make a checklist, you can take note in self lang, write it down, and then teacher reviews the target language after the presentations also of the learners, and then you can do comprehension check. Okay, and then teacher asks students what they learned and if they like presenting their photos in two polls. Pwede po na ipapresent sa teacher as a final or closure or evaluation. Okay, as a teacher, ikaw, how will you close your lesson? If you will be teaching grammar, on prepositions, specifically on, in, and at, how would you close for this lesson? So I will leave that to you, no, for your answer. Ikaw na bahala sa tubang. Let me just give you a summary or a guiding principle before I leave. No, on communicative approach. Don't forget what communicative approach is. It says it is comprehension. I mean, comprehension precedes production. Production emerges in stages. Goal is meaningful communication. Without it, then we fail. Affective filter is lowered. Language is acquired through interaction as well as learned from the teacher. So while it is learned or acquired through interaction, through communication, it is also learned from the teacher via corrected feedback. Okay? So that ends my topic. Thank you so much, everyone, for your very active participation. It's about time that I give the floor to Miss Riza May Papat for the demo time. Good afternoon once again.
Thank you,
Thank you very much, Ma'am Dorcas Tagyala. Let's move on to our second speaker for their topic, Ma'am Riza May Pakot. Ma'am Riza, I think she lost the connection. Ma'am Riza. Alright, so I hope okay pa ang tanan. Tulungan ng good ka speaker ang nabilin. Kapit na tanahuman. So while waiting for Ma'am Riza, I think na siya problem sa iyong connection. Okay, nakabalik na siya. Sige, ma'am. Nakamute ka, ma'am.
okay.
Ma'am,
Hi, sorry. So again, I am Ms. Resume Ampako from Talisaya National High School. So I'm very sorry for that. So siguro may I ask Ma'am Hazel to present my PowerPoint? Pwede ra? So ako ang na-awardan ng signal. Is Ma'am Hazel around? Okay, thank you. Okay, so my part for this afternoon is actually lesson demonstration with adaptation. So Miss Lee already discussed about what is a communicative approach, and she also differentiated the two kinds of practices. Diba? We have the controlled or guided that focuses on accuracy, and we also have the free or communicative practice, which actually focuses on fluency. And most importantly, she also discussed the steps in writing a communicative lesson plan. So, by the way, our main goal is to incorporate teaching grammar within our lesson. So, we must have the target grammar points or the grammar focus. So, of course, upon discussing, we must give the students the chance to reflect on real life situations. So, even if we have a target grammar point, our strategy must be dealing with authentic questions because it is said that teaching grammar is effective if it is being taught through communicative approach. So as what Miss B said a while ago, that in communicative approach, there must be um, communication among the students and must be a meaningful communication. Now, I will just give a run through of the lesson. So along the way, kindly, okay, along the way, I will show you some pictures. Okay, so I will just give you the presentation the same way how the speaker did during the seminar in PGCIT. So assuming that we are already done with the preliminaries. So take note that there is a student hat that will be shown later on. And of course, we will be shifting from wearing teacher's hat to student hat because in this lesson, we are going to apply what Miss B said or discussed a while ago. So, I have your picture and I want you to observe this one. Now, you may use the chat box for your answer. Now, where is Samantha? What country? Okay, in the Philippines. What island? I can read Bohol. Okay, she is on Bohol Island. Now, how about what monument? Yes, she is at the Chocolate Hill. Next question we have, what time of day? So maybe in answering this question, you will just have a wild guess if it is in the afternoon or in the morning. But the important thing here is that you use the correct preposition because, as what Mom Dorcas explained a while ago regarding the template, um, Ma'am Samantha focused on the use of preposition, specifically on the preposition of time and preposition of place. But the topic is about talking about where we have been and describing a picture. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so here's the thing. Maybe our students will answer, where's Samantha? What country? So the students will answer, she is in the Philippines. Now, what island? She is on Bohol Island. And what monument? She is at the Chocolate Hills Monument. What time of day? It was in the afternoon. Or maybe they could say that this photo was taken on Valentine's Day. So, as you observe on the answers, the words that are being underlined are the prepositions that you need to use in answering this type of questions. So, next slide, please. Okay, so aside from asking questions, aside from showing some pictures to our students, we can also begin our lesson with the use of different learning resource materials. So we can use the Voice of America for learning English. So actually, this is composed of audio lessons, no? And maybe later we can give you the link, the one that is written on your follow along handouts. And you can use this one so that you can apply this on your class. Because in this Voice of America Learning English audio lesson, we will be using the listening skills of the students, wherein students can listen and take notes. Of course, students can also read along with the script. And the advantage is that this is for free and students can do this at home if necessary. Okay, next please. Okay, aside from showing picture or giving another learning resource material that you think that is effective for beginning the lesson or for presenting the grammar points of your lesson, you may also direct to discussing the chart. So let's now shift to student task. So you have here the prepositions of time. So it is being arranged from general to specific. So as we all know, the prepositions of time allows you to discuss a specific time period or when things are taking place. So there may only be three prepositions of time, but the ways in which you can use them are almost endless. So for example, if you are going to use the preposition in, you must pertain to the parts of days, months, years, or century. Now, can you give me an example in which you use the preposition in a sentence? You can use the chat box if you want to answer. Okay, anybody who can answer using preposition in. Am I in? Okay, anybody who can answer. Another, I eat breakfast in the morning. Okay, thank you, Ma'am Michelle. I am in the park. Oh, take note that we are dealing with preposition of time. And as what I said, a preposition that allows you to discuss a specific time period or when things are taking place. Okay, I can read the answer of Sir Nilo here. I will see you in the morning. No, very good. So thank you, dear participants, for your answer. Now let's proceed to the second preposition, the preposition of time, which is on. Now, we are going to use this one if we are pertaining to holiday with the word day on it. So, for example, on Labor Day, on Christmas Day, and we can also use this one if we are pertaining days of the week, days of the month, or days. Now, your challenge now is to write a sentence that is using the preposition on. Preposition of time on. Um, she held onto my hand tightly. What else? Preposition of time. Maybe you can say, okay, retrieval of modules is on Monday. Thank you, Ma'am Jeremy. We also have, I will see you on Monday. Sorry, this is Monday. I was born in October 15, 1988. I had family gathering on Christmas Day. It was discovered on March 16. Another one, we have, she will join you on the 6th of August. So thank you very much for the answers. And now let's proceed to preposition of time at. So this time, you are going to use this type of preposition if you are pertaining to a specific period of time. So it is the most specific, it will give the most specific information. Now, for example, you have at New Year's Eve, holidays without the word day, or at midnight, at noon, at 6 o'clock, at 10 a.m. Now, I want you to write a sentence that is using the preposition of time at. Okay, well, we will end at 5 p.m. Mag-try tanong, ma-end at 5 p.m. Okay, let's meet at 11:45 a.m. I want to see you at dawn. Oh, Ma'am Analu, ano kadlawon? Sure lang. I call you at 7:30 a.m. Okay, at 7 o'clock, I'll be in the school. See me at 3 p.m. We will meet exactly at 4. We will meet at exactly 4 p.m. Natin could you see, I don't know if this is a male or a female, anak si Ma'am Lenovo or Sister Lenovo. Let's talk at midnight. Char lang. Okay, I'll be there at 1 p.m. according to Michelle. So those are the prepositions of time. We have the in, the on, and the at. So, as what I said, there may only be three prepositions of time, but the ways in which you can use them are almost endless. Now, next slide, please. Let's proceed to the prepositions of place. So, the prepositions of place is used to refer to a place where something or someone is located. So there are only three prepositions of place. We have the in, on, and at. And however, the same with the prepositions of time, they can be used to discuss an almost endless number of places. And of course, it also allows you to be very specific when talking about where action takes place or when discussing important details for communication purposes. Now, let's have first, again, this is being arranged from general to specific, from left to right. Now, let's have the preposition of place in. So, we are going to use this one if we are pertaining to a place in a neighborhood, a city, a country, or any place with a boundary. Now, I want you to construct a sentence that uses preposition of place in. Okay, we have here, I was born in Cagayan de Oro City. Okay, thank you, Ma'am Marie Louise. We have also Ma'am Judy. I am in the middle of the sea. Wow, nakatay pa si Ma'am nung nasa sa Lahoy. Okay, Ma'am Analu, I am in Opal right now. We also have Ma'am Jelaine Era Davo. I live in the Philippines. Okay, next. Now, pag gusto mag-answer, how about using preposition of place in um, using neighborhood, for example? I'm here in Claveria. She works in Canada. Okay, another one. Or maybe I am growing corn in my garden. O, pwede na siya. So how about preposition of place on? You are going to use this one if you are pertaining to a certain street or avenue, an island, large vehicles, or surfaces. Now, I want you to construct a sentence that is using a preposition of place on. I'm riding on a bus. Thank you. Thank you, Ma'am Michelle. I reside in zone 1. Okay, thank you, Ma'am Jelaine. I am on a ship. Mm-mm. What else? So siguro kay hapit naman ang February, no? Ngayon lang to sa mga partner. Place the bouquet on top of the table or on the table. Pwede na siya. I am on a ride. I am supposed to be on a plane. I am on top of the mountain. Uh, timely and relevant siguro ni sa Sir Clemente, no? Kay you are from Claveria. Thank you, sir, for that answer. Naapay gusto mo pahabol. Okay, I'm on the rooftop. So siguro si Mama Rivik, no? Nangitag signal where na siya sa rooftop. I am online. Oh, pwede. Offline, how about offline, ma'am? Well, anyway, let's proceed to preposition of place at. So you are going to use this one if you are pertaining to a certain address or specific location. So how about this type of preposition of place? Anybody who can construct a sentence that is using at? Naa ba? Let's stay at home. Okay. Labi na nagid no kay pandemic karon so minsan sa ta sa magaglaad. Char. Mapanindigan ba ang dili maglaad? Okay, I am living at Poblacion, Magsaysay, Misamis Oriental. Oh, kompleto, Ma'am Judy, thank you. I was at Del Pilar Street, Cagayan de Oro City yesterday. Thank you, Ma'am Jelaine. So, naa pa ba? What else? I live. Hala, kompleto na gid na siya, Ma'am Marie Louise, no? Maanhaan gid ka na mo. I live at 11221 Zone 4, Agusan, in Cagayan de Oro City. Okay. Thank you, ma'am, sa inyong address. Basin mo, expect ka lang tanong, ananang diha. Sure lang. But anyways, let's proceed to the next slide. Thank you for your participation. So now, after giving a short discussion, no, about the target grammar form, you will now proceed to the giving of guided practice. Now, this time, let's wear the teacher's hat. So take note that this type of practice, as what Ma'am Dorcas discussed a while ago, that this actually focuses on the accuracy. So maybe in order for us to attain the objective, and our goal is to really focus on the accuracy of the answers of our students, maybe we can have an activity just like a think, fair, share, so that each partner can correct his or her partner with regards to their answer. Okay, so I have here an example. Please ask your partner questions moving from general to specific to find out exactly where they are. So next slide, please. So what country are you in? Maybe he or she will answer, I'm in the Philippines. So take note of the preposition in. Next, what city are you in? I'm in Manila. What street are you on? I'm on Rojas Boulevard. Number 4, where are you at on X Street? I'm at my home. Where are you in your home? Okay, I'm in my office. So where are you in your office? I'm at my desk. So as you observe the back, the questions are moving from general to specific. And in order for us to have this type of answers and this type of question, we must think of the correct preposition. And that is the thing that we need to focus, diba, sa atong learners. So aside from targeting the grammar point, which is the usage of the preposition, we are also tackling with our topic, diba, ako lang ibalik. Ito na-mention ni Ma'am Dorcas kaganina, na ang topic na gipili ni Ma'am Samantha is talking about where we have been or kanina nga first activity this Friday at picture. Now, next slide, please. Now, the question is, how are we going to adapt guided practice to the modality that we are currently using in this new normal? So, okay. So maybe naa sa ato nag online distance learning or nag hybrid learning modality. When you say hybrid learning modality, students attend class in person while others join the class virtually at home. Or maybe um, we are using the paper-based modality, and which is actually not the most commonly used modality here in the Philippines. We use the self-learning module. But of course, ako lang i-add, siguro ma-mention ninyo or nakunahunaan ninyo at this point of time that we are also um, focusing on, at some point, a radio-based instruction or television-based instruction. But di ba, as what I can remember during the seminar in RVIPDBI, these two these two types of instruction are just supplementary to the printed modular distance learning. Because based on the survey, daghan nagpili sa printed modular distance learning. And of course, mas effective siya sa ubang areas, labi na sa hinterlands. Now, let's go back to the question, no? How can we adapt guided practice? So, akong ibalik guided practice are activities that are focusing on accuracy. Now, for online distance learning, we could make use of breakout rooms or put students in small groups. So this breakout room, using of breakout rooms, familiar po ani sa MS Teams, but I don't know if there is a chance that we could have some breakout rooms in Google Meet or Zoom. So siguro naa sa isa sa inyo during na nag-online distance learning and to give us some ideas how they are going to perform the breakout rooms in Google Meet or Zoom. Naa ba sa ato? Naa ba? Because di ba in guided practice, uh, siguro we will use the think, pair, share. So they need to have an ample time that they could have some interview with each other. Okay, Ma'am Lara, yes, Zoom has breakout rooms po, ma'am. Ah, okay. Ay, okay. Sure lang. Oh, no? Zoom, karoon pa ko. Thank you for that, Ma'am Lara. How about sa ano, sa Google Meet? Do we have breakout rooms? Yes, Microsoft Teams, Ma'am April, I'm familiar with that. Not sila breakout rooms. But I don't know with Google Meet. No. So for those teachers who are actually conducting online distance learning, we could still adapt the guided practice that is being introduced to us by Mom Samantha by using the breakout room. Okay, Sir Clemente. Yes, ma'am, for those attending international webinars. So, Sister Clemente, no, researcher, did na siya. So, yes, he is really familiar with this one. Okay, thank you, Ma'am Glendale. Now, let's proceed to hybrid. The students could interview each other via chat or messenger or voice recordings. So we can still push through the think, pair, share, or any guided practice by letting the students um, interview each other via chat or messenger, and of course, pwede po voice recording so that we can have um, some natin mabasehan sa atong assessment later on. Now, let's proceed to paper-based, or what we are doing right now, the modular distance learning. We could send students the handout and they could interview a parent or sibling. Oh, that is also possible. But, di ba, considering the situation that we are currently having, the parent na ang mag-answer. But of course, we must consider that one no, an agi possibility. But of course, we must still push through no, nga the students are really learning from this type of modality because as of this moment, it is the most effective type of modality. And considering we may be not pushing through the face-to-face because of the Omicron variant, so we're dugay pag ito maka face-to-face. But of course, according to Mom Samantha Marks, pwede gihapon ta maka-adapt sa guided practice by sending students the handouts so that they can interview a parent, a sibling, or a neighbor using, if we are using the paper-based modality. So next slide, please. Okay, so after um, giving a guided practice, you may also proceed to giving the free or communicative practice. So as what Miss D said a while ago, na ang communicative practice nag-focus sa fluency. So in this type of practice, you will let the students provide their own picture, perhaps, or a travel vlog or drawing. And what they're going to do is to express or describe what is the picture all about. So they have the chance to freely express their ideas. But of course, let us not forget the idea katong atong target grammar point. So everything na atong gipanggamit ng mga activities or strategy, we must relate that one sa atong target grammar point para ma-achieve gid nato siya in the end. And uh, we don't give much time, effort on error correcting for this pre-communicative practice. Now, for example, Miss Samantha is a student and she was asked by her teacher to have a travel vlog. Okay, so she will then describe this picture as this way. In this photo, I'm in the Philippines. More specifically, I'm on Bohol Island. So one of the most famous places on Bohol Island is the Chocolate Hills. We're at the Chocolate Hills in this picture. It was taken on February 14th on Valentine's Day at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. As you can see, I'm at the top of the Chocolate Hills Monument with my husband, son, and daughter. So, this is an example of an answer of a student if you are going to give them a type of activity which is a communicative practice. So, di ba, the student is actually explaining or describing this one. She is not interviewing a certain type of person, but she is expressing her own ideas in this type of practice. Now, the question is, next slide, please. How can we adopt communicative practice? So for online distance learning, students can show and tell the whole class or small groups in breakout rooms. So for hybrid learning, we also have here students can send pictures to the teacher or each other with their description via chat and with the in a form of voice recording. And for paper-based, we have here students to draw a picture and describe. But of course, in this type of communicative practice, adapting to paper-based modality, the student is not verbally expressing her ideas, but she is having a photo essay bakaha. No, okay, isulat maniya. We are having a paper-based modular learning. So, next slide, please. Okay, now let's proceed to lesson ending. So, let's wear again the teacher's hat. So, diba, as we all know, based on the discussion a while ago, that a communicative lesson has only the beginning, the middle, and the end. So, it is not that complicated. So, how will you know your lesson was successful? Now, this time, I want you to make use of our group chat if you want to answer the question. Now, I want you to reflect on this question. How will you check if learners can use the target structure to communicate their own ideas? Our next question, how will you give them feedback? How will you elicit feedback from them, considering the type of modality that you are using? So how are you going if how are you going to check if your lesson was successful? Kung saan ka nato na siya? Do you have any idea, ma'am and sir? Sige, I will wait for your answers. Okay, Ma'am Judy, by making an assessment through reflection essays. Okay, thank you, Ma'am Judy. Applicable kayo siya no sa paper-based modality. How about the others? Aside from making assessments through reflection essays, we give assessment activities like paper and pen test essays. Okay, thank you, Ma'am Michelle. Okay, we have Ma'am or Sir Lenovo. Writing activity. Oh, okay. What I said, diba, in Division of Misamis Oriental, most of the schools are making use of the printed modular distance learning. Aside from that, okay, we have assessments and essays. Make timeline. Okay. Thank you, Ma'am Rhoda. Thank you, Ma'am Marivic. Another one. Nakabay mo habol. Give assessment call. Okay, thank you, Sir Nilo Lapad. Also through Google Meet assessment through oral recitation. Oo, pwede. Pwede na siya. I really wanted to have an online distance learning here in Talisayan, but I think I cannot push through with that because most of my students are residing sa lugar na dili kaayo-kaaya ang signal. But I would like to make use of the Google Meet yun. So we can let them share among their groups and ask representatives to sum up their ideas. Okay, thank you, Ma'am Jelaine. Okay, Sir Clemente and Abba. If they are ready and understood the lesson, and give more exercises like reading, writing, and speaking. Yes, thank you, sir. Okay, giving essays and blogs. Okay, can you give them blog notes since most students nowadays are very techy. So they really know how to make vlogs na. Oo, pwede po na siya. This is timely and relevant to the type of learners that we are having this time. Okay, so can we now proceed to the next slide, please? Okay, this is an example of an assessment poll. So making use of the assessment poll is a way for us to know if our lesson is actually successful. So you may ask them, do you feel more comfortable with using in, on, and at as prepositions of time and place? So our options could be in a multiple choice, diba? So letter A, yes, I feel more comfortable. So mabalaan nato if the student is comfortable with the topic if he or she will choose letter A. So, letter B, pwede po nato na siya ibutang nga option. I understand better but still need to practice more. Or letter C, this was tricky. I need to practice more. So, example na siya no sa assessment poll. Now, next slide please. Yes, Ma'am Plain Error Dapo. We can make use of the poll questions. And for those who are not familiar with making this one, there are lots of tutorial in YouTube good. Okay, another example of feedback poll. Do you like these kinds of activities where you get to share and talk about photos from your life? So letter A, maybe magpili sila, yes, let's do more of this. Or B, it was fine. Or letter C, no, let's just stick to the textbook. Pwede po na to din na siya mga option, no? Okay, what if naging student nga really interested to the type of activity that we gave to them. So we must also consider the interest of the learners. So this is one way for us to know if they are really enjoying the type of activities that we are doing. So next slide, please. So part of the steps to take when planning a communicative lesson is reflect on the success of the lesson. So basically, after teaching the lesson, it is important for us to reflect. And if it is not successful, we have to revise it. Then teach the revised lesson. And it goes on and on and on. If after reflecting, the lesson is not successful ang atong conclude. No? So for the review, a communicative lesson planning is reflective and it is a messy circle because, as what I've said, you need to revise if dili successful ang imong lesson right after the reflection ni inyong gibuhat. And communicative lessons have a beginning, a middle, and end. And in communicative lessons, students spend most of the time communicating. So based kaganina, if you can still remember the discussion of Miss D, di ba mas dako ang time na gihatag during the practice, the guided practice and the communicative practice. Gamay ra ang gialat Miss Samantha sa time sa pag-discuss sa teacher. Because we are dealing here the communicative approach. Because gusto lang nako siya balik og ingon nga it is said that grammar is best taught in communicative approach of teaching. So next slide, please. It, it's okay to use other sources like Voice of America if your textbook doesn't have explicit grammar instruction. Or you may use also your own strategy or nabasi na kay gihimo, na kay only intervention for that. And you must try something new. You must reflect and you must revise because we are always bombarded with lots of options. So we have options, options, and options. So next slide, please. And for this part, surprise summary assignment, my dear participants. So all you have to do is to create a communicative grammar lesson using the steps we discussed in this module and the template that was being discussed by Miss B. And you can adapt the lesson we worked on or take your own grammar points and content. Okay, maybe you don't want to focus more on prepositions, so siguro you will uh, shift to tenses or subject-verb agreements. Pwede lang na siya. Pwede po na siya. And we will just give you an update with regards to the schedule of submission. And of course, we will also provide the link of the Google Drive kung asa ninyo siya i-upload ang inyong output per district or per school. So next slide, please. So these are the references. So I hope that you learned something from me this afternoon and thank you for participating. Thank you for listening. Again, this is Miss Reza Mayampakot from Talisay National High School, Senior High School. Thank you. Okay, Nana Shipawang Kamantano, we have to reteach, we have to revise and enrich. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Liza Papot and Ma'am Dorcas Benjala for your topic about on planning lessons using communicative approach. This time, let's move on to our last set of speakers this afternoon. This topic is all about one step further. And of course, we have our speaker from Opol National Secondary Technical School, Master Teacher 2, none other than Ma'am Emmeline L. Asacoso, and together with her partner, Miss Berlinda Ilago, Principal 2 of Lumbo National High School. Let's give them a virtual clap for our last set of speakers. Take it away, ma'am.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to my fellow participants. So finally, we are now down to the last topic for this afternoon, and that is on going a bit further, the communicative task. So we are going to go a bit farther after we have learned all the strategies, all the different ways we can correct grammar errors, and all those communicative tasks that we have learned from the previous topic. So I hope that at this far, all our participants can still extend their listening ears to us as our the last speakers. So this topic is divided into two. I'll be the one to present the first half of the topic, and the other half would be discussed by my partner, Mama Linda Lago. Okay, so Since this is the last topic, I am going to, or let us try to have a quick review. Um, how am I going to make this? Um, for a while lang, ma'am, ha? Kay parang wala na ko siya na F5, ma'am. Slideshow. Sorry, guys. Do you have it there, ma'am? Okay
Yes, ma'am.
na?
Okay naman. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So, since this is the last topic, let's just have a quick review of all the topics we have had from this morning session up to this afternoon. So, in the first topic, we have what does communicative grammar involve? So, what can we remember about this first topic? You may just write on the chat box. Napa ba tayo mga hinumduman? Okay, so probably others can still remember on language acquisition, language learning, and pedagogy. Okay, and then in the second topic, we have meditating grammar instruction and activities. So from this topic, we were able to learn, expose, engage, explain. Okay, so for the third topic, what do we remember? Integrating grammar into skills-based lesson. So we have punctuation marks according to Sir, the grammatical rules. Okay, so we have there empower and explore. And then in the fourth topic, we have error correction and feedback. So we have there what particular things we can remember. We have the making a plan, when and why, and how do we make a lesson plan. Okay, and lastly, we have the lesson planning, and that was clearly discussed to us, a quick demo on how we can plan our lessons in teaching grammar communicatively. So, what are the options for the particular context? Okay, so what would be our objectives this afternoon? There are only five. First, of course, we have to differentiate a task and an activity. So, is there really a particular difference between a task and an activity? Naa ba, ma'am? Sure. A task and activity? Wow. Yes, naa daw. Of course, there is a difference between a task and an activity, and let's find that out later. Okay, then we have to discuss the characteristics of communicative task and the
Ma'am Emily, please continue.
sorry, na-unmute. I'm in a mute. Okay, so as a start, let us try to have this activity. All right, so going back to the question, is there really a difference between a task and activities? So let's try to have this. I want you now to choose a number, any number, one digit, two digits number, and then, or even a three-digit number. Okay, choose that, and then I'll give you the instruction later. Okay, so yan na sila. There are those who said 12, 19, 29, 1, 21. Wow. So mostly odd numbers. Okay, whatever it is, then you will have something to do. Okay, so let's proceed. So if you choose a number, an odd number, then this will be your word. You will imagine as the dishwasher. Okay. So of course, what does a dishwasher do? Of course, you will be washing the dishes. So right now, you have to imagine that you are in your kitchen washing your dishes. Okay. And then, uh, if you choose the even number, some mention 16, 8, and so on. So for you, you will be the kitchen cleaner. So what do you think? Would you do as a kitchen cleaner? So of course, you will be cleaning the kitchen. So as you imagine your role this time, I want you to consider things that you would do as a dishwasher, as a kitchen cleaner. What do you usually do? What are some of the things that you would do as a dishwasher and as a kitchen cleaner? You may write your answers in the chat box. For the dishwashers, okay, are you there? Are you done, dishwashers? Okay, so let's check in. For the dish washers, probably you are still working on your dishes right now. And for the kitchen cleaners, you are still working on the kitchen or in the kitchen. So, what about the dishwashers? Are you done? Okay, so for the dishwashers, scraping dishes to remove the leftover, and what is this? Washing, cleaning the plates first, and then apply this soap. Okay, so that's for the dishwasher. So are you done? Is it easy to wash the dishes? Okay, thank you for your answers, ma'am. Answers. Okay, so how long will it take for you to wash your dishes? Is it longer, or is it just a matter of minutes, few minutes? Okay, so I think wala pang nag-answer to those kitchen cleaners. Okay, so it depends, ma'am. Yes, especially when you have a big party, probably, then this washing would really take long, right? Okay, yeah, it depends upon on the plates, but of course, when it's only in the house where few people are using it, then few minutes lang. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so here, see the glasses, plates, and so on. Okay, so what about the kitchen cleaners? Are you done working in the kitchen? Or are you still working? That's why you cannot answer. Okay, so, not yet. So they are not yet done cleaning the kitchen. Why do you think so? Does it take long for you to clean the kitchen? So mom here says a few minutes only daw in cleaning the kitchen. Others until now, wala pa nahuman. Okay, so in the kitchen, there are many things to be done. Okay, if it's the whole kitchen, yes, mom. If it's the whole kitchen, oh my God, we have to clean everything in the kitchen. Okay, especially if the kitchen is messy. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for those response. Okay, so in the kitchen, probably there are a lot of things you can do, like you wash the floor, you wipe the counter, you take out the trash, even wash the dishes. So washing the dishes is just one part of cleaning the kitchen, right? Okay, so you also wipe the sink, you also mop the floor, sweep the floor, and many, many more. Okay, so Others would even be, what is this? Confused where to start. Yes, ma'am. Especially if you have a very big kitchen. Diba, ma'am? So you really have to uh, plan it out where to start. Okay, so usually it takes you so long to clean the kitchen. Okay, so those are the tasks of the dishwashers and the kitchen cleaners. Okay, so based from those, from what you have done, from what you have performed as dishwashers and cleaners, so which do you think of the two is an activity or a task? Ma'ams and sirs, which do you think? Is it dishwashing or cleaning the kitchen? Ah, okay. So I'm sorry I could not read names. Half I it can the letters are so tiny I could not read only your answers. So activity daw is washing dishes, and then activity is dishwashing. Kitchen cleaning is a task. Wow, right? Right. Okay, so let's see which one is an activity and which one is a task. So these are the possible answers as mentioned earlier, and washing the dishes versus cleaning the kitchen. So let us see if you got it right. So washing the dishes is the activity. Okay? So tanan correct man. And cleaning the kitchen is it's the task. Now the next question is, naman, why? Why is it that washing the dishes is the activity and task, or cleaning the kitchen is the task? Yay! Ipay kayo sila, but they got the correct answer. Wow, here, may I answer si ma'am. Task is a series of activities. Wow. While the other one, activity, I think you're referring to the activity. It's just part of the task. Okay, so that explains everything. Murag dili na ko need mo expound, right? Okay, so you got it there. Um, the activity is very specific. Yes, it's very specific. While the task is a little more general. It's bigger, more comprehensive compared to the activity. Just like cleaning the kitchen, you have to plan first where to start in cleaning. But for washing the dishes, immediately when you have the dishes right in front of you, you can just go over washing them. Okay, so that's it. Now, we have this little illustration. Therefore, a task has more than one activity. So just like the previous example, in cleaning the kitchen as a task, you perform a lot of things: sweeping, mopping, washing the dishes, and everything. So in a task, there are lots of activities, more than one. So A1, A3, A2, and activity 4. So if we try to translate that into the classroom, a teacher, when teaching a particular lesson, she gives, of course, a lot of activity and leading activity to the output that he or she wants to get. Just like the previous presentations, in the presentation of Mampakot, where the lesson was about teaching prepositions about time. So there, in her presentation, she uh, she was able to give activities like the springboard, using pictures, for example, and from the pictures, there are answers elicited. Okay, and then there are also controlled activities that were given. So it was mentioned, okay, controlled activities, that's controlled or the guided activities because we want to have mastery over the uh, lesson. So controlled activities or the guided practice. In her activities, she had their questions, right? The questions, and then there were answers posted by the students. So controlled activities. Then freer activities on more communicative activities because we want our students to talk. We just want them to express themselves. So we allow them to communicate well. So we give them freer activities. Okay, and accessible, concrete. What is this? Product. Okay, accessible, concrete product at the end. So, but if we have all those multiple activities in a task, now can we consider will there be task-based learning? Is there already task-based learning? Is it a yes or a no? Mom's answers. Okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, puro yes. All right, so let us see, ma'am, if mom's answers, if that would be enough for, if all those multiple activities would be enough for a task-based learning. So let's first look into the characteristics of grammar activity. Actually, this was already mentioned in topic one, if you still remember. The different the characteristics, there are five of them, characteristics of a communicative grammar activity. So we have there first, students need to communicate in order to be successful. Then the next is meaningful, relevant to the students. Then it has comprehensible input and has an authentic context. And lastly, may incorporate scaffolding to lower the risk, the effective filter. Remember, Pamuani, this was discussed the first topic, in the first topic. All right. So according to our speaker, Montana, of these five characteristics, there is one that would really somehow with this kind of cover all, or should we say, the best characteristic for a grammar activity. What could that be? Anyone? Is it an A? Is it a B? A C? You may answer in the chat box. Scaffolding, it's the letter E. Any more answers? Letter A. Any more? Scaffolding, letter D. Okay. So probably the others are still washing the dishes or maybe cleaning the kitchen because they still cannot decide on what to write, what answer. Okay, D, A, what else? Wala na. Letter A. Okay, still cleaning the kitchen. Yeah, si mom, nag-clean pa siya sa kitchen. Okay, sige lang ma'am, you continue cleaning the kitchen and afterwards, you stay with us. Okay, sige ma'am. Okay. So the answer for this is from the answers in the chat box, murag wala pa yun nakakuhaan ni. So this is the answer. It's letter C. Okay? Because according to our speaker, making the students communicate in order to be successful, meaningful, relevant, provide meaningful, relevant activities to the students, authentic context, incorporates scaffolding to lower the risk. That is already embedded in comprehensible input because from here, of course, you will do everything to um, make them understand. You have to give them all the language inputs for them to understand your lessons. Okay? So those are the characteristics. Now, is it enough for the task-based learning? Okay. Now, for the task-based lesson, in order to have a task-based learning, aside from giving multiple activities, more than one activities, there are still a plus two or the two things that you need to do. So after all giving all the activities in your task as a task, then you have to give or add on this one. This the first is authentic, concrete, accessible outcome. This was mentioned earlier. It's the final activity in addition to the language. This is what you give them, what activity that you would give them in order to assess, in order to evaluate whether the students really learned. So if it is a final or a complete product, it can be seen or it can be heard. So that's a complete or a final activity. All right. Then the other thing that has to be included with all the activities, there you will have the opportunity for reflection on language. Okay, so here, um, for the concrete product, for example, referring back to washing the dishes, siguro wala na po yung nag-wash karon sa dishes. So, tanan na karon, all eyes. All right. So, washing the dishes as part of cleaning the kitchen, the washing of the dishes is not yet the final product. But the final or the complete product is already the clean kitchen. Diba? So, ang washing of the dishes, part lang na siya sa pag-clean sa entire kitchen. But the finished product or the complete product now is the clean kitchen. Okay? So that's an example of an additional of the plus two things. So we have additional outcome or the concrete product. So in a lesson, there should be a concrete product. All right. Then, um, all right, another example is when you plan for a party. Siyempre, dili man ka mag-party immediately and then on the spot, party ka, especially if you are planning for a debut, wedding, an anniversary. So you really have to plan everything. So even in the budgeting, in the food, and the drinks, or what kind of decorations and invitations, you really have to plan. So that deciding what food to buy and what drinks, how to decorate the venue, it's just but part of the task itself. But that is not yet the final product. So the final product now, or the concrete product, is your party plan. So from there, you will now be able to uh, relax for a while because you have already this one. And for some, naanagid sila yung mga wedding coordinators, mga party coordinators, so that they will not anymore be uh, what is this? Be having problems on uh, what is going to happen in the party. Okay, so it's the concrete product, right? So therefore, the concrete product of a task is something that we can see or hear, just like in the lesson discussed in Mamreza's presentation, that at the end of the lesson, there was already a product expected from the students for them to work on, to perform, and for them also, for the teachers also to evaluate. Okay, so uh, Ref- this is now the second one, the reflection on language. So after the multiple tasks, we have the additional outcome, and this is the second one, reflection on language. So again, going back to the example, favors really not on washing the dishes. So it's just part of cleaning the kitchen. So being able to wash the dishes properly, you really have to, just like the answers earlier in the chat box, you have to apply soap for you to clean the plates properly, to remove the grease and the oil and everything. So you really have to reflect on how are you able to wash the dishes properly and how you were able to do it to do it rather. So this would now help you wash dishes properly in the future, just like other kaning atong mga batanon karon, our kids at home. One of the very one of the things for the household chores many dislike is the washing of the dishes. I don't know why. But so that is why when they wash dishes, pag magamit nimo, the moment that you use the plates and the spoon, you will find out na apa di ay mga sabon-sabon. So that means to say now, after reflecting on that, so you will improve. You will be able to do better the next time you wash the dishes. So that's a little on reflection. And then deciding what food to buy is part of a planning a party, is what we mentioned earlier. But the party plan, of course, requires the language, and the language to be used can be reflected on, revised, practiced, and used again. So it's just like reflecting on whether is this something useful, is it necessary to include this part of the program, and so on and so forth. So reflecting on the things that you have done for you to do better, to improve the task given. Okay. So with that, the multiple activities plus the two things, the additional outcome and the reflection of the language, we now have aside from the five characteristics of communicative grammar activity, this one, the five characteristics we mentioned earlier. So we have the plus two things, which is the outcome that is based on the authentic context. And then we have the opportunities for reflection, as mentioned earlier. So there we have the characteristics plus the two additional things, then that would make up a task-based lesson. So this task-based lesson will be discussed in details by the next presenter. So after my talk. Okay. So what are the types of tasks? Right? So what are the type of tasks? We have here um, the information gap. Then we have The information gap, this is now when you enable the students to be informed. You provide them information, clarification on something, like in a job interview role play where you prepare questionnaires, you allow them to prepare for the job interview, then you give them list of the questions that they would be expecting to answer during the interview. So that gives them an idea, information. So that is only based on knowledge and understanding. And then the next type is the reasoning gap. So here it involves the reason and the logic to decide what information to share or to solve a problem. So you have to be able to understand. Of course, you have to make to reason out. Just like in planning a trip, whether you go to Bohol or to Cebu, where they happen to be affected by Typhoon Odette. So are you really going to go there or not? Or if you are going to go there, then what are the things you need to consider? So that's reasoning. You have to allow the students to reason out, to use their skills. So the third one is the opinion gap. So the opinion gap, this is now allowing the students to share their personal experiences, their feelings or ideas. They have to speak out their minds about a particular issue or a political topic or any part of the discussion. This is now on the higher proficiency uh, level. So just like when you are going to in your activity, if for instance you are teaching literature and then you are going to let them complete a story and let them end it in their own way and share it to the class, then that would be an opinion gap task. I cannot press the next slide. What's wrong? Hello? Okay. So, so this types of tasks now is anchored in Bloom's taxonomy of learning. We have, if you look at the diagram, we have there the information gap that is under the low level thinking skills. That's on the knowledge and comprehension. So everybody is familiar with this one. So there's no need to expound on this. And then the reasoning gap tasks fall under the high level thinking skills, which is the application, analysis, and synthesis. And then the opinion gap is, of course, still under the high level thinking skills, which is synthesis and evaluation. So our task must be anchored or must be in any of the types that we have discussed. Okay, so I think it's fine that we have a little, just a very short exercise for us um, to not to sleep. Okay, so we have here. Let's try these examples. Are we ready, ma'ams and sirs? Are we ready for this task? So uh, let's try to identify what type of task is um, in this particular task. Okay, for again, grab my board. And, okay, so number one, so it's here. This is now the result when internet connection is so poor. So the first task is visiting the doctor or dentist. So it's there already, so no need to ask. Salamat for the mga answers. Okay. Then for number two, this is the task. Planning a family of work, friends event, or party or celebration. What particular type of task is this? You may chat in the type. Okay. All right. So opinion, reasoning gap, opinion gap. Okay. So planning a family. Right. So reasoning gap. Thank you. All right. So let's have the third one. Making a poster or an advertisement in a paper, audio, or digital. Reasoning gap, according to mom. Information gap, opinion gap. Okay, opinion. Let's see what it is. It's reasoning. So making a poster, you have to decide, and you have to really and, use your mind as to what particular poster, what particular lines, or how are you going to advertise products and other things. Okay. Then, no, the fourth, having a debate discussion about an issue or topic. What could be the task here? It's opinion gap, reasoning gap, opinion,